my name is Leah. I am in Comms 203 184. Here is my works cited and then my outline. I hope you can see it. Awesome, so today I want to talk about the comparison of life satisfaction in European countries versus that here in the United States. So a lot of y'all may have heard the quote that Americans live to work, whereas Europeans work to live. So personally, I've actually grown up in Europe and I've moved to the United States about 7-8 years ago. So I've been able to experience both sides of how life satisfaction is categorized and what factors contribute into life satisfaction in both areas. Europeans, they really tend to focus more on this well-rounded aspect of life, having a very well-rounded work-life balance, whereas Americans follow this hustle culture and focus a lot on their career goals, and financial or economical drives. Now, some factors like work-life balance really contribute harshly into life satisfaction, but some of the other factors that I want to talk about today alongside work-life balance are going to be access to affordable healthcare and higher education opportunities. So to start this off, I want to talk about work-life balance. Now, according to legislation that was passed not too long ago, employers in the EU actually cannot force their workers to work longer than 48 hours per typical work week. Now, what that means is that there's a high emphasis focused on people having a life outside of their work and maintaining that healthy work-life balance. So not only do companies, but also government agencies enforce this and in turn set this emphasis on people having a life balance between work and their social activities outside of work. Whereas here in the United States, to meet the minimum requirement of having a full-time job, you have to work 40 hours a week. And a lot of job descriptions, such as being a cop or being a deputy, you actually have to work overtime hours, and that is stated so in your contract as well. So there's not this really emphasis focused on having a healthy work-life balance. Now, another point that I want to talk about going into work-life balance is that Europeans actually get double the amount of vacation time off as the Americans here in the United States. Now, that in itself again sets this emphasis on people having the time outside of work to be able to explore different areas, countries, adventures, opportunities, anything like that, and explore their passions when they have 15 extra days off. Whereas here in the United States, you really don't have a lot of time outside of work to be able to explore new hobbies or interests and passions. And so that again kind of demonstrates that focus and emphasis of life satisfaction in the United States versus that in European countries. Now, work-life balance does demonstrate a lot about life satisfaction. However, there are other aspects as well, such as the access to affordable healthcare. Now, in European countries, affordable healthcare is accessible across a more wider range. So a lot of people from different socioeconomical backgrounds are able to afford healthcare. Here in the United States, a lot of people cannot afford that healthcare because healthcare systems actually are primarily private, and so with that comes this higher emphasis and focus on economical benefits. So high co-pays, high deductibles, and high premiums are kind of more focused on than the actual welfare of the entire society, whereas in European countries, there's a bigger focus on the entire society being good and everyone being able to afford the healthcare that they need. So if you can't afford the healthcare that you need, like here in the United States, if you have a mental disorder, a chronic disease, or anything else like that, and you can't go to the doctor even though you feel good and get the prescription that you need, then that's a problem, and that will definitely impact your life satisfaction. In European countries, there is not such a big problem with that because that healthcare really is affordable across all socioeconomical backgrounds, and so of course that will benefit your life satisfaction and kind of be an up for that aspect. Now, something that I do want to touch on that is a benefit of life satisfaction here in the United States is going to actually be opportunities within college and universities here. So what I mean by that is that a lot of colleges in the United States, they have very diverse curriculums. And so they really focus on encouraging individuals to discover multiple areas of interests and passions and stuff like that. In European countries, you actually specialize and focus on a specific study, topic, or field very early on. I remember when I was in school in Europe, I actually decided that I was going to go the music route in high school. So that is when I had to pick a topic, pick a study, and a field that I was going to enter it into throughout college and then post-grad. Whereas here in the United States, in college, you have a lot more opportunity and leeway to kind of figure out what your passions are, become really interested in it, and then pursue your passion and hopefully become successful in that. So there's a little bit more freedom and more range to find passions and find genuine interests that will then be, more contributing to your happiness and contributing to your satisfaction. Now, another aspect of that is actually, according to a study that was published on the benefits of American college experiences, it touched on how United States colleges and universities really focus more on just the academic experience, but also on the social experience. And so a lot of colleges here and a lot of students that attend American universities have athletics and social organizations like fraternities or sororities that they can focus on and then broaden their passions, their hobbies, interests, their social networks, and stuff like that, which in turn will again benefit their life satisfaction. So, there are various factors that contribute to life satisfaction in the United States and in Europe, and it's essential to really note that life satisfaction is measured and defined differently in different places, and is also dependent on individualistic wants and needs and cultures. So, while access to healthcare, while work-life balance, and of course education opportunities are some categories that focus and that heavily influence life satisfaction in those different areas, again, you have to note there's a bunch of different aspects that will also contribute to that. Living both in the United States and in Europe, I've been able to kind of experience both and see how life satisfaction is defined and affected differently by different factors, and how my perception itself has been impacted by my experience and my own life satisfaction. So ultimately, it is defined by everyone in itself, but there are different factors that contribute differently in different locations, like in Europe and in the United States. So I hope you enjoyed my speech, and thank you for listening.